Guys, to the Time to Know About podcast. It is me, your host, Ronnoc O'Taylor, and today we are with possibly the last episode with the unkillable man, Gallo. We thank you for checking this out. You probably checked out the last ones and you thought, wow, that's impressive, man. I wish I could stay alive like him. Well, look no further. Well, anyway, anyways, today I spoke with him about his spiritual wise, a little bit about seeing ghosts and his years in the past about almost becoming a pastor and why he walked away from Christianity. We're gonna have a long talk today. I hope you guys enjoy, and I don't want to keep you longer than I have to, but there is a Spotify account, so just saying. Anyways, later. You caught my eye when you said that you could reopen your childhood ability to speak with spirits.
Yeah, I was trying to work on that. I can't find anybody reliable that'll can teach or show me. So I used to be able to, and I don't remember it specifically. I just know that my father told me stories of things that I was able to do, and so I remember the story he told me, but I don't remember actually doing it. And I remember the feeling when I was a kid of being scared when my aunts were trying to push me to remember things or do things, but I don't remember actually doing it.
What do you mean they would try to push you?
When I first went to live with my father, he told me that. Or one of the things is that I was able to talk to my grandfather, and his father passed away before I was born. So there was no way I could have known anything about him, what he looked like, what he wore at his funeral. So I described all of that, what he looked like, what he was wearing. And so apparently some of his sisters found out, my aunts.
Mhm.
And when I went to go visit them later, they would shake me like, hey, talk to my dad, tell me this, tell me that. And so I remember being shook and like, hey, you know, um, talk to my father, ask him this question. I remember that conversation, but I don't actually remember having the conversation with my grandfather. So I wanted to like reopen and learn that ability again.
Is this only like if you it was obviously since your childhood this happened, like is it only the same people like your family members, or do you have or is it like you can kind of channel them in and out depending on what you're feeling?
I don't know, or I don't remember. Apparently, my mom mentioned that I had a lot of imaginary friends, and or like different imaginary friends, not just one. So I'm guessing I did, but again, I don't recall talking or having any conversations with anything. Just the remembering of getting in trouble, being yelled at, or being made fun of for having imaginary friends or stuff like that.
One thing I realized is that like every time, once in a while, it'll like I know I mentioned this, but every time I go on Reddit, it's like kind of funny how there will be some new thing that pops up out of your life. Like this is like our third one, and I'm just thinking like, do you think what's the reason for that? Like, how come to have like a pretty fulfilled life so far with all the this being our third interview? How do you think that like? Do you think that's a gift or like what's the why do you keep like what's the reason for adding more details on and not like mentioning them in the previous?
So most of the time when I first was getting on Reddit or joining for podcast interviews, I was kind of focused on getting the message out about being an intercourse addict and having that background and explaining what was going on. And I wanted to focus more on the addiction part and fixing it. But most Redditors or most podcasters are like, oh, sex, that's probably will sell. It'll probably get more viewers. Just I think they were seeing it more of a uh, like a hook or a title to get people to watch. And as I kept going, I kept getting pushed into just talking about sex addiction. So I wanted to get away from that and expand. Hey, I'm not just an intercourse addict, I'm other things as well. So that's why I started adding more details and trying to have conversations more about my life that kind of shaped me to that, but then also all I've done besides intercourse addiction.
So you want it to be more than just that one detail of your life.
Right. I wanted to be more than just one dimensional, just one thing.
Yeah. Is there any others, like, I can't remember if I asked you, but was there any other details you wanted to, like, you plan on getting out in the world? Because I'm more than happy to have you on the show again.
Um, I'm actually rewriting like my life story, air quotes, to help. So I'm actually having AI quiz me and ask me, okay, explain this, go more detail of that. So I have like a full picture of everything that happened from basically my life, and then that way I can kind of have, okay, let's make this into story arcs and what can I push. So I'm not finished with the main story, and once I get the whole story out, then I'll start making it into, or having AI help me make it into like segments. Okay, if we are talking about this subject, I can pull from this, I can pull from that. And it's funny because having the conversation with AI, it's making me think, oh, I completely forgot about this detail. Oh, I don't remember how I felt in that moment, but I think I felt like this, that kind of thing.
So is it like more of a book, or like or like maybe like a biopic kind of thing, or how so?
Kind of. It's basically like it making me write my autobiography and adding more detail, but just sticking to the facts, not making it sound like a narrative. It's just kind of dry if you read it.
Yeah.
But it's mostly like bullet point details of, okay, at age 10, this happened, that happened. And so they kind of relate to other things. And then it makes a picture. Okay, based on what you said, when you were in middle school, these things happened. How do you feel about these things? I'm like, ooh, I never thought about that. So it's interesting and scary at the same time how much AI has come in the past few years.
And like I was looking back to, like, I think it was our, I think if I'm right, it was the very first one. You mentioned how you fell into your grandfather's creek, I believe, and it was like you kind of saw an angel, and that's maybe not, maybe so, but like, do you think that happened before, or is this afterwards?
I don't remember an angel.
You don't
Hmm.
remember? Like, I remember, I was going the other day. I was going back to like the
Right.
very beginning because I wanted to recap, and I remember that you said like, "Oh, I mean, it wasn't necessarily an angel, but you said like there was some voice."
I'd go spend my summers down in Mexico with my mother's side of the family, and my aunt would take me to the beach, and I was stubborn and would go as far out as I possibly could. And just a couple of times I got pulled under by riptide, and actually those were the beach. The youngest one, the first one, was different. That was like off a little creek or river, but kind of start drowning, and eventually, like, it wasn't a voice. It was sort of a voice, but it's not something that you could hear. It's not like hearing someone talking to me, just kind of an understanding, or just something that just kind of told me to be calm. So I calmed down, relaxed, and then um, there were commands that I couldn't hear. That's the best way to explain it. Just commands that I did not hear kind of told me to be calm, relax, go with the flow. And then once I come up for air, now breathe and now do this. And kind of told me how to get out of being stuck in the riptide or from drowning.
Maybe like a voice from God, or what do you?
Yeah, something supernatural. Like I can't say, oh yeah, it was such and such. It was God or it was an angel. But something protecting me kind of guided me how to not die, essentially.
Oh, so the first time I nearly drowned, it's the memory's fuzzy. And again, it's like with the AI thing, 40 plus years ago, all kinds of things. So it felt to me like a voice told me to get out of the water, to be calm, be safe, and then, climb out or reach. But I'm not sure if it was a voice or a feeling that made me think it was a voice. Because I know I've had a few other instances of a feeling of just calm. So it's not, it's like when I was about to have a motorcycle accident that I knew, or I thought I was going to die in. I remember feeling that just sense of, don't worry, it's cool, it's calm. It wasn't a voice that told me, hey, calm down, don't worry about it. It was just like an instant feeling of relaxation that most people with the adrenaline would be like, what's going to happen? So that kind of reminds me of, okay, was it a voice when I was a kid, or was it a feeling that made me think of that voice? So
I don't remember if I ever asked this originally, but when you're thinking of like you established that you kind of almost died multiple times. That's like a thing that you've had to deal with. Motorcycle glass accident, drowning, getting shot at. But I was wondering, do you think
mhm.
that's like a? Do you think, like, obviously I'd be afraid if I've almost died. I almost drowned, and that freaked me out for a little bit. I was wondering, like, do you find that as like a gift that you're still alive, or like do you think of it as like is a freaky thing to deal with?
It's an interesting question. I haven't thought of it really too much. I know that it can be scary for most people whenever I share the story. Some people think, oh man, I would never do that again. I never ride a motorcycle. I'd never go swimming. And for me, it's like, if I could have died then, I could die after this. I could have a heart attack. I could get run over in the street. There's hundreds of ways that anyone could die just at random things, just doing normal life, not doing exciting or crazy things. So I don't feel like that should stop me from doing anything or living my life or living in fear. At the same time, as far as it being a freaky thing, in a sense, there's some stuff I've been seeing online about people talking about like jumping timelines and stuff. So maybe I'm the version of me that just keeps jumping timelines. So maybe I did die in that situation, but in that timeline, and my soul, my being, my whatever I am, however you want to define it, has a purpose and isn't supposed to die. So then I keep jumping timelines. So there's a version where I did die in that motorcycle accident. There's that version of me that died when I was 4 years old. There's a version or a timeline where I died, in the 18-wheeler motorcycle accident. So I think there's that possibility. So why I'm surviving that, who knows? Maybe I have a purpose. Maybe what they call it, soul contract. Who knows? There could be dozens of reasons that I can't figure out, which is another reason why I want to do that, opening up my third eye, so I can kind of find out, hey, what's going on? Maybe that is my purpose in this life, to open up my third eye, talk to those entities or beings around me that want to have a conversation and share that with the world somehow.
You told me that you were agnostic and you wanted to be a pastor, like, which I'll ask more about that later. But with like what you were just mentioning, do you necessarily believe that, or do you think you're just kind of going off the details of what you heard?
A little of both. I'm going off of details. I'm going off of TikTok, and that's probably in the last 2 years that I've kind of opened myself to that idea that maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's why I'm here. But before that, I really just like, we'll see where life takes me, see what's going on and why I'm supposed to be here, what I'm doing.
With being agnostic, do you believe there is, like, with the multiple times you almost died, do you believe, and like hopping, that's one version of it, but do you believe maybe there's like an afterlife, or what's your thoughts on that, if I'm allowed to ask?
No, you can ask anything. I feel like there is an afterlife, and I think we define it ourselves. I don't think it's heaven or hell because of what church or whatever tells us is what it's going to be. It's whatever. I think it's what our beliefs are. So if we believe in heaven or hell, and we believe we were a bad person or we weren't a good enough person in life, then our afterlife will be hell. And for those of us that think that we are good and did deserve to go to heaven, we'll probably have that belief or have that afterlife of heaven. So I think the afterlife is what we believe it is, what we make it. And then, of course, there's other videos and TikToks of people who've had near-death experiences, and you just kind of recycle your soul and you come back or whatever. So who knows? Maybe it's reincarnation, maybe it's afterlife. No one knows for sure until you actually pass away.
You said you don't remember very much. Like, do you remember how you like kind of resurrected, or like you kind of made them like talk to you and everything? Like, you had to, I imagine you had to somehow like gather them to you,
My understanding is that they just naturally came to me, specifically for my grandfather. He was telling me a conversation and talking to me about certain things that essentially was telling me to tell my family members that he was proud of them, that my father in particular, that my grandfather was proud of my father for X. And I don't remember what it was. My father told me at the time when he was telling me the story that, yeah, my father told you to tell me that he was proud of back in 1963 when I did this. And the only two people on earth that knew about that thing was my father, my grandfather, and whatever thing he did. So there's no way for me to know something that happened 12, 13 years before I was even born. And so that's why I have a belief that it did happen, that I was able to have that communication, be able to have that power. And when I first started my podcast, there was 2 guests that I had that were clairvoyants or, were psychic, or I forget the name title. When I interviewed them, or having the interview, like having a call like this right now, having a conversation, talking around, and in the middle of it, they go, look, stop. You have things around you that want to have a conversation with you. You have entities, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to communicate with you, and they're saying that you need to do what you're trying to do, whatever your thing is. And at that point, I had never shared about me trying to reopen at my third eye. I hadn't shared that I was kind of praying every night or trying to have a meditation of whatever's out there, help me, guide me to be in the spirit world, open up and help me open my third eye. And so they were saying, hey, the thing that you're praying for, you need to do it. You need to focus on that because you have people that are trying to talk to you. You have entities that try to reach out to you. And so that kind of gave me chills and scared me. Like, how do these people that I've never had any conversation with, imagine if this was our first podcast call, no other interaction other than what I sent you on Reddit. So in the middle of that, and then we just kind of kept talking. They're like, look, you know what? We need to stop this. They want you to focus and you need to delete this video. So I listened to them. I deleted the 2 videos that I had, or the 2 different interviewees that I had, and deleted the video. But it was still kind of frustrating. Okay, something wants me to talk to them. Something wants me to open my third eye, but no one's telling me how to do it. How do I open up my third eye? How do I communicate with the dead? How do I see what's out there?
Are these spirits like? Are they not physical, but like, can you see them, or are they more like a mind? Like you can kind of just hear them.
Neither. I can do nothing right now. So I still haven't figured out how to do that. As far as I know, I was able to see them because I was able to describe what my grandfather wore. So that's in some way or shape I could see them before, but now I can't.
You said it was your dad who kind of taught you, right?
No. He was asking me if I remembered what happened, if I remembered having that conversation, and I told him no. So he told me everything that happened back then. So the story is, he hears me in the in the bathtub when I was 3 or 4 years old, talking, babbling, whatever. And he comes in. He goes, "Hey, who are you talking to?" "I'm talking to Grandpa." And he goes, "Oh, you're talking about Grandpa Chulo Chulo." And I'm like, "No, that's your stepdad. I'm talking to your dad." And he freaked out because how on earth would I know that his stepfather is a stepfather, not his father? As a kid, you should know, hey, whoever grandpa is, grandma and grandpa are your parents, right? Mm-hmm. And so he was kind of freaked out that I made the clarification. And he goes, "Oh yeah, so how do you know you're talking to him?" "Well, he told me he's your dad, and he's right there, and he's wearing this light blue suit, and this is what he's wearing. This is his haircut, blah, blah, blah." And it made my father have chills down his spine because that's exactly what my grandfather was wearing in his casket. And then I told him, "Yeah, your dad says he's proud of you for blah, blah, blah." And that gave him another chill that I'm telling him something that nobody on earth should know about. No one alive, no one anywhere would know about it. And so he was, "Okay, cool." And he walks out. And that was like the gist of the story that he told me when I was 12 or 13 when I moved back in with him. So he was essentially wondering if I could still talk to the dead. And he shared that story. I was like, I don't remember that. I remember my aunts shaking me because they wanted me to talk to my grandfather and ask some questions, but I don't remember, actually talking to my grandfather.
No, 100%. I get that. That kind of happened with one of the previous interviews. It kind of freaked my mom out when she mentioned apparently one of her like older like relatives. I don't remember what the details were, but I don't believe in that. But it kind of freaked her out, so I could believe it's somewhat possible. But do you think like, where does you forget this? Like along the lines don't remember really anything now. How did that kind of leave your body?
I think it was being shook by my aunts, being scared of them shaking me and kind of yelling at me. And I realize now is that it was excitement. They were excited. "Oh my God, you can talk to my grandpa, or you can talk to my dad. Please talk to him. I want to know this, that, and the other." But as a little child, I remember feeling scared that my aunts were shaking at me and yelling at me. That's the feeling I recall. So I think what happened is that I was scared. So I'm going to stop talking about me seeing these things, and then people will stop asking me to talk to them for them. And so I think over time, the more I ignored the entities, like, "Oh, well, he's not going to talk to us. We're just not going to come around." Or by me ignoring them, I just like, well, if you're not going to use it, you're going to lose it. So something along those lines, I'm guessing.
Is that also when you kind of walked away from Christianity, or how did that all go?
Oh no, that was more. It was kind of a two-time thing. So when I grew up Catholic, and I hated going to church as a kid. Sit, stand, kneel, all that stuff, and it was boring. I didn't care for it. So as a kid, I didn't care for Catholicism. And once I I did my confirmation, then I was like free to do whatever I want. So I just stopped going. And when my mother got sick with cancer and passed away, then I was like, fuck God. And I was more upset at him, not that she had cancer. I was just like, either heal her or make her die quick. I don't want her to be in pain. I don't want her to suffer. So I was upset that, she suffered for almost a year and then passed away. So with that, I was like, fuck God. And got away from Christianity. And all the times I nearly died, I was going to church every now and again, more of like going on dating girls that were super into church. So it was kind of my way of like, okay, yeah, no, I'm a good guy. I can, I'm not that bad. I'm not as bad as you've heard about me. So I would go to church more to not look like a bad guy or to hit on girls that were good girls. And eventually one day I said, fuck it. I'll do an altar call. Worst case scenario, my soul is saved. No big deal. And kind of shied away, started going back to church because of friends and family, and just kind of, okay, church isn't so bad. And it wasn't until the motorcycle accident with the 18-wheeler that I said, you know what, I'm here for a reason. I need to figure it out. A couple of years after that is when I started going to Bible college in Houston to become a pastor. And the more I learned about the history of the Bible, Christianity, and stuff like that, the more I disliked Christianity as denominations today, and the way it's being taught and the way things are going. A lot of churches have their own Bible college for their own denomination. So like Baptists have their own way to train pastors to be pastors. And a lot of it is teaching how they interpret the Bible, how they understand it, not learning what the Bible actually is or where it comes from. And so I actually learned the Old Testament is written in Hebrew. It's still used and read as Hebrew in the Tanakh, which is the Torah, Ketuvim, and Nevi'im, which are 3 books that the Jews use. And most people know about the Torah, but there's 2 other major books. But anyways, and there's the 10 commandments. The 6th commandment is thou shalt not murder, not thou shalt not kill. But most English translations of Christian Bibles is thou shalt not kill. And if you believe that, then, and according to Jesus, all sin is the same. Murder is the same as lying, is the same as being jealous, is the same as not honoring your parents. All of those sins are equal in the eyes of God. Not one is bigger or less than the other. So if that's true, then killing anything is a sin. So if you kill your food, if you kill an animal to eat, that's a sin. If you kill a plant to eat, that's a sin. So Hebrews are telling us, hey, no, it's murder. If you murder another human being because of anger or rage and plan to do it, that is a sin. But if you accidentally kill someone because they jumped in front of your car while you're driving, or if, whatever, anything that's accidental, that's not murder. So that's not a sin. So that just little things like that. And the more you get into the Bible, the more you study the history, the more you study from the Greek translations, there's a lot of things that make more sense that are misused and mistranslated today. So I was like, you know what? Christianity is wrong, or at least the basis for Christianity is wrong. Having all these denominations aren't great. So I'm going to just have my own relationship with God. And over time, I just kind of pushed away like, okay, there's more than one God. I don't think he is the God. Who knows what the real actual God is?
So you still have some belief, but not like the main belief?
I believe that there are gods, there are deities, there are entities, but I don't feel like there's one true God. For the pastor thing, I just figured, okay, I've been alive, I've survived all these things. Maybe I have a guardian angel. Maybe that's why I'm supposed to stay alive. Maybe I'm supposed to become a pastor. At the time, I had a somewhat stronger belief in faith or in Christ or in Christianity. And so that's why I kind of went into that. But it wasn't a feeling of a calling. It was more of like, I'm still alive. I survived this. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. So
do you like, one thing that I am like, I kind of like you, my belief kind of faded like along the way. I rarely went to church as a kid. Like even though my parents were, we never really did. I've been maybe up count of 5 times in real church, and my belief kind of started fading around middle school. But one thing that still, I believe I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm more of afraid of the afterlife aspect. Like, what the fuck is actually afterwards? Like, are you afraid that you're gonna go somewhere bad? Like, you kind of stated that it's kind of all how we act, but like, it's even good people, in like the Christian eye, like you said, there's a whole bunch of ways we can go to hell. What's your thoughts on how you're going to do it?
Well, for Christianity, the thing is, you're just saved if you believe in Christ. If you believe in Christ, the ABCs: accept Jesus, believe in Christ, and confess your sins. Boom, you're in heaven. That's the basic belief. Your treasures in heaven kind of grow based on how well you are, and depending on the denomination, kind of tells you how you can earn extras. Essentially, if you read the Bible, it tells you more into detail what actually heaven is more like, or how to get into heaven. But for me, my belief is I am the master of this reality, that everything that's going on for me right now is kind of like an instance of World of Warcraft, where you're playing your version, you see your life the way it is. I'm playing my life, and this is my version of it. This is what I chose as my mind. So not my brain inside my body, but my mind chose to play this avatar, play this brain. So when I log out, when I die, then it'll be whatever I decide it to be, because I've already chosen this reality that I can touch and see and feel and taste. That what I do after this body is dead is up to that spirit, that soul, that entity. So I think I'm gonna have a good time.
So life is basically just a messed up game, and essentially, but if that you get what I mean.
Yeah, that life is a game, and it's a game with the lesson. Like, there's supposed to be a lesson, and if you pay attention to people or your friends, you might hear some of your friends complain about the same thing over and over again. Some girls that that I keep dating assholes, and all these assholes always keep dating me, or guys, man, my job sucks, this sucks, blah blah blah, and they just keep having the same crap going on over and over their life. It might not be the exact same thing, but it's kind of the same situations over and over. And until they learn their lesson, until they learn to either accept it or how to overcome it, it's still going to happen to them. And so for me, it's like we're playing a game, and we don't level up until we learn how to play that level, or play that game, or learn that lesson. Just like in any other video game, you don't get an extra power until you learn how to get to that superpower. And nowadays, you can go online and see other people do it. But in the 80s and 90s, there was no internet. You had to figure it out. You had to go through it and keep playing or give up. And so some people would beat the game. Some people would just stop after 20, 30 minutes, a couple hours, whatever.
One thing, like, kind of connecting with the previous interview we did, we talked about your addiction with sex, and like that's kind of like that was a event that you wish that you could have done better with your mom, with religion and the whole like religion. Your mom was basically, she was a believer.
I think so.
Sorry, I know I phrased that weird. Yeah.
No, yeah. She pushed for us to go to, or she pushed for me to go to church, and then eventually she realized that she wasn't going to be able to make me to do it. And she still had a lot of icons and things in the house geared towards Catholicism, but she wasn't the type that would go every Sunday and every Wednesday and preach about it. But I know that she did have a faith.
She probably was for that belief that like you shouldn't have sex before marriage, and even you shouldn't have sex before marriage. That's like a sin, and like that that's probably a little bit for everybody. But like, how did were you not a believer of that as well? Like, because you obviously when you were a teenager, we discussed you've done it plenty of times.
Yeah, not at all. She didn't even push that, because one of the things she told me when I was growing up, so when she gave me the talk about the birds and the bees, I didn't get it, because she was using, penis, vagina, and like the scientific terms.
Yeah,
and so I remember like, it doesn't make sense. I don't know what she was talking about. I'm just, okay, yeah, sure. Just hurry up, get this over with so I can go outside and play. Like, I was just bored with the conversation. And right towards the end, she's like, do you have any questions? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so she got frustrated, and she goes, you put the dick in the pussy and blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Okay, yeah, no, I definitely want to do that with girls. Like, that kind of clicked. I didn't say that, but I was like, oh, that's the missing piece. Like, I knew I liked girls. I knew I thought girls were pretty. And I was like, okay, I get it. And so my mom told me, or she realized that it clicked. So that's when she told me, if a girl loves you enough to open up her legs, that little slut better love you enough for you to move in with her, because I'm not going to raise your kid. And then I was like, oh shit, I could get a girl pregnant. And if I get her pregnant, I can't take care of a kid because I can't get a job. I can't get a job until I'm 16. I'm only 10 or 11 years old. What the fuck am I supposed to do for 6 years? How can I feed a kid? All these crazy little anxiety things I was thinking of. And a few years go by, and I did everything except sex, oral, fingering, stuff like that.
Basically
And
everything
it
we
was
talked about like back a couple months
right,
ago.
right. And it wasn't until later that my mom kind of had a conversation with me that made me realize that she didn't believe in waiting till marriage. She was like, what did she say? Oh, whether you're with her for an hour or the rest of your life, make her feel like she's the only one. And I was just like, okay. And it didn't dawn on me until like years later that she was saying, hey, if you're just going to hook up with her or if you're going to make her your wife, make the girl that you're with always feel special. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. That tracks, and it's worked.
With being a pastor, is reopening your? Do you think like do you think like of you don't remember practically anything? When did you like start actually remembering these things? Like how did like no you had to kind of have some memory, but like has it always been kind of slightly once you've forgotten, then it's kind of passed on very slightly, or when did you regain some of these memories? You think?
Oh, so yeah, I actually, it's funny. Growing up in school, I had a great memory. I was that kid in school that everybody hated. I never had to study. I was always goofing off in class. I would get in trouble with teachers because I just wouldn't pay attention. And it wasn't that I wouldn't pay attention; is that the teacher would spend. I don't know if you recall, but in school, she would keep just repeating the same thing over and over again because there were some kids that didn't get it,
Yeah,
and
I remember
she would
you
say,
had a really good memory. You would just
"Right,
dribble. You would just like draw on your coloring pad, and then like the test came, and you like flew by like colors.
yeah." And so that was my memory as a kid. And after I had that first motorcycle accident with the 18 wheeler, I just started forgetting things. And the only reason I have a lot of memories now is I used to journal or write in diaries, however you want to phrase it. And so I have a lot of diaries that I found, and some of them were kind of vague. And I think it was me trying to keep myself from getting into trouble. If someone read my diary, no one would find out what I actually did. So some things I get from context clues. Other things I remember, like a couple of key words, like, oh yeah, that was my code word for Susie, and us hooking up in wherever. Just some things were coded so that way no one else could find out. And some of the codes were too hard for me to decipher. Some of them were like, oh, yeah, I remember that completely. Other things were full details, full lists. And then also voice notes and things. And other things are just kind of core memories that I can't forget. So with all of those, I've been able to kind of pull together and make my life story be more full. And so compared to pre 2013 or pre 2016, I could tell you my whole life story from start to finish in great detail. Now I can kind of give you the bullet points like I have been doing in podcasts over the past few years, but with finding more notepads, finding more books, and finding old computer notes, text notes that I had as well, I was been able to kind of piece more together and feed it into AI to get a bigger picture of who I am.
Is with your podcast, like what's the main gist? Are you interviewing people kind of like on like spirituality, like like I'm kind of doing it to you, or what's the gist?
So yeah, originally it was interviewing people, just kind of getting dating stories and either something that was relevant to kink life or dating or relationships. And originally it was just more focused on that and also educating people essentially. So my tagline was uh, life, dating, and sex advice
Your
with the
camera
kink
came off.
twist. And weird. What the hell? Okay. Sorry. So yeah, it was sex, life, and dating advice with the kink twist. But the kink twist isn't about being kinky. The kink twist is that kinksters are focused on having a conversation before having sex, that we know exactly what we're getting into. We know what we like. I tell you what I want to do, things I will never do, things I'm interested in. You would tell me the same thing. And then having honest conversations, because most people that are not in kink never have a conversation about sex. Sex just kind of happens and, oh, yeah, baby. Oh, that's good. And that's about it. That there's no real conversation about it. So I was trying to center it around that.
Because I imagine
Now I'm
some
gonna.
people with a kink probably get a bad rep, probably.
Sometimes they do, and ever since 50 Shades of Grey, it kind of created a subgenre of not having to have consent, not having to follow safe words because of stuff that went on in that book that is not based in reality. I think someone just kind of had an idea of kink and decided to make it sexy and sold it and made it the phenomena that it is for most people. But for kinksters, we do not like it. We think it's a bad version of what kink is. But now so when I went out, usually with most podcasters take a break every now and again, once a year, a couple of months, whatever. So when I took my last break, um, it was when Anchor and Spotify were kind of merging, and whatever I did, I basically said, "Hey, don't expect any podcast from me. I'm going on break. I'll be back in 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it was." So whenever that transition made, whenever Spotify took over Anchor and took my podcast, apparently it deleted it, and so the podcast is gone. So I'm restarting it back up. But what I'm also going to do is kind of keep the same format, but also add where I invite podcasters to come in and talk about on a segment called Not My Niche, which is essentially say your podcast is about sports. All you talk about is sports and specifically NBA and the draft. But you like playing D&D, or you're a hobby RC remote control boat maker, or whatever your hobby is that you don't get to talk about because your main podcast is about sports. You don't get to talk about the things you like or your other hobbies. So that's a space where I want to bring podcasters to talk about whatever their hobby is, or conspiracy theories, or also conspiracy theories. Any conspiracy theory that any podcaster has that they can't talk about on their podcast, they're more than welcome to come on. So it's going to be the same podcast plus 2 other segments that I'm going to have.
So kind of like you're gonna bring on a podcast. You're gonna bring on a podcaster and speak on their hobby, basically. Is it
Pretty
only
much
podcasters, or are you gonna bring in like normies?
anybody's. Normies too, but as long as they have a video set up, I want them to be able to, because it's going to be a video podcast, and it's launching in May. And I already got 2 episodes recorded, or 2 segments recorded. I'm just getting more friends scheduled to come on later in the future. So this next month is going to be pretty busy recording.
You said it's gonna be on May. Like when? Would you like? What's the name of it? I would be down to put the link down in the description.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it is Gallo Chingon podcast. Just my name, podcast. I have yet to buy the domain, but it's still available. So I'll get it here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll be down in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. Obviously, it won't be out for a couple of months, but you'll have it when it does. But yeah, that's basically it. I saw you've been doing some stuff on social media, posting some stuff, posing. Is that more of your thing now?
Yeah, I'm trying to build up my social media's status so that way I just not like a random face and posting random things. So it's going to be more curated and geared towards, hey, I know what I'm doing on social media. I just have been busy with a whole bunch of other things in the background. As you know, as a podcaster, it's more than one thing to just record. You got to do 20 other things to get your show going. So that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, the editing at least takes a day or 2 to get at least that part. So, yeah, I completely agree. Well, unless you have any other things you wish to discuss, I'm more than welcome to have you on if you have any more topics. But that's all my questions. I appreciate you taking time, and it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, no, I love it coming on here. That's why I've been coming back, so many times. It's been fun and
Yeah.
it's always great. And you always give like different questions or different versions of questions that kind of make me think sometimes. So I love that. That's why I keep coming back, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. How do you mean though? I'm just curious.
So like when you were going back about one of the earlier questions about the feeling of going back and seeing how things happened, and also like the religion stuff too, about the agnostic stuff. Yeah, it's been fun.
Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoyed. Yeah, you're always welcome. But I'm gonna let you go, and I'll send up. I'm just gonna post the link. You'll find it then.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. What's up, guys? It's me, your boy, Ronnoc O'Taylor. Thank you for checking this out. It's awesome to have you as a fan. If you're new here, I release every episode once every Wednesday. Sometimes a little once in a while here and there, but that's only if it's like a stupid episode or like I'm recording. You get what I mean. But anyways, it is 11. It is Jesus Christ. It is 9:11 p.m. here in my hometown. And I want to say thank you guys for listening. I am your host, Ronnoc O'Taylor, once again, and come see us out next Wednesday. Peace, babies. I'm out. La la. Leaving town, leave it proud. You need it up because you're nothing. But you believe that, baby, it's dreaming. So wipe your tears, little boy, 'cause there's a whole new world out there. Ba-da-ba-ba, there's a whole new world.